Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. This morning I'm heading off to a track session as part of the start of my marathon training. I'm shoving down this breakfast super duper quickly, as you can see. I had more than that, I promise. That's cereal, and then we have a coffee here, and it is caffeinated, which is rare for me in the life of coffees, but we're gonna need it today. I'm about to arrive at track, and I just realised I have no idea what I'm in for today. I haven't even asked like what the session is, why we're here. All I know is that my coach said that he wants to see me running before we get going with a training program officially. My legs are exhausted. I did 20k on Sunday. It is now Tuesday, so they're a little bit tired, but I had a rest day yesterday, and I haven't been at track forever, like for so long, so I'm quite excited to get going around a little bit, but also very nervous. Track workouts make me nervous because you can't just start slowly and then just like plod around for an hour or whatever. They tend to be pretty fast and furious. I will let you know, and hopefully ask Chevy some questions that I want to know myself. So at track today, it's with Chevy over there. We were just working on tiring out the body and looking at the cadence when I'm a little bit tired out, because of course it doesn't really matter what I'm doing in the first 400 meters of a race or a run or whatever it is. It matters what you're doing towards the end of the run and whether you can keep form at that stage. And he was talking a bit about cadence and striding and all that kind of stuff. As we know, I'm pretty injury prone. I've had issues with my IT band for the last 5.5 years or so, and they've been so much better recently. But something Chevy and I worked on when I was training for Tokyo Marathon was decreasing my stride length, increasing the cadence that I was running, and I was practicing that on longer runs so that I was less likely to injure myself. And I'm going to ask Chevy a couple of questions about it. He hates being on camera, so Chevy, can you explain why, well, what we were working on and why we're working on it, why it's so important?
Today we're working on technique. Running is fantastic. Running is extremely accessible, which I love. You can pick up a pair of trainers and you can just get out there, which is absolutely amazing. But one of the biggest challenges we have is that people don't realize there is an efficient way to move from A to B. So if you was to go into the gym and start deadlifting or squatting, before putting all that weight on your back, you'd want to know how to efficiently move. Running, basically with every step that you take, is like putting 2 to 3 times your body weight up through your system. So it has impact. It is a stress. It's a stress on the system. So one of the big things that I like to work with people, or used to work with, and I used to do this a lot more back in the day, technique. Like, how can we efficiently move from A to B? So today we just wanted to have a quick glance over Flora's technique, your technique. And I'm talking third person.
Which is not good.
Yeah, technique is good. Like, this is, you know, what you've demonstrated today is the importance of trunk stability. You hold yourself in a good position, which is great. You've got that upper body strength, which is really important, because what happens is we spend a lot of our life hunched over like this, whether it's phones or desks, and we don't realize that actually we need to get the whole body working together to get that kind of efficient stride, that efficient movement pattern going forward. So it demonstrates you've got that trunk strength, fantastic, so I can keep my upper body connected with my lower body. You've got those shoulders, you've got that strength in your back, so you're keeping those shoulders pinned back, and you've got that nice line between ears, shoulders, and almost hips. The hips are a little bit back, but that's absolutely fine. So that's really great. So it's not bad. Don't beat yourself up. And that's, you know, you guys can understand this straight away. Like, okay, hold on a second. There's a couple of quick adjustments you can make already when you're running. Think about those ears, shoulders, and hips nicely aligned. Think about slightly engaging your trunk when you're running, and think about those shoulders pinned back. Now, it's really important though, when you're pinning those shoulders back, that you're not flaring, right?
Yeah.
The chest here,
a lot
because
of
then you're
stick their chest out.
Yeah, because then you're breaking that trunk stability. So it's just having a nice tight core, it's not flaring, but just keeping everything slightly engaged. Quickest things that we can do when looking to change our running technique is thinking about our cadence. So that's all about how many steps per minute. Runners spend a lot of time on the ground. So we take these big, giant strides like so, and the problem with that is it causes a lot of wear and tear on the hip flexor because your trail leg is spending a lot of time having to be pulled forward, and then you're taking these big giant strides, landing out in front of you, heel strike, sending shock up the system, and you're just kind of repeating this movement again and again and again.
And this is my problem, everyone. Foot out in front, heel down first, a lot of shock up the knee, and then that's where the IT band comes in, and that's where it hurts.
And then what's happening is we're then having to use just a lot more energy to then keep powering forward. Like, this is the big misconception about running. We think it's these big, powerful strides, when actually running can be a lot easier. Like, it should be nice and effortless, nice and light. And one of the ways that we can kind of bring that into play is improving our cadence. Simple way that you can do that is just kind of standing, running on spot, thinking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and just kind of increase your steps per minute. There's some great cadence apps online. I don't want to get too bogged down in the detail because it starts to overcomplicate it, but ultimately some of the quick tips that you guys can think about is think about your ears, shoulders and hips nicely aligned. Think about nice light feet as you run. Don't think about landing, think about pulling up the foot as soon as it hits the ground, keeping that nice position, and off you go, nice and light.
Amazing. One question that I get asked a lot is basically about injury prevention, and you managed to get me through Tokyo with relatively few injuries compared to previously. I mean, previously I wasn't able to run even 3, 4, 5K without my knee hurting, whereas I made it through to, I think, 24K in training before my knees started giving way. So that is a good, pretty good place to leave me in. Yeah, exactly, this guy. But what is your best top tip for, like, if someone's training for a half marathon or a marathon or whatever it is, their first race, what are your top tips for injury prevention? Because I feel like that's what stops so many people. It's not that they're not fit enough to do things, but that they get injured during training.
Less is more. There's this big misconception. It's definitely changing. There are a lot of people talking about this a lot more over the years. We seem to assume that more miles make the better runner. You know, if I just do more, I'll get stronger, But we have to remember that running is a stress on the system. There is a lot of wear and tear for every run that we go and do. A lot of people who turn up to running have desk jobs, or they're new to running, and they've got bodies that just need a little bit of love, basically. For me, it's less is more. So when I get people training used to get people training for marathons who have injuries or might not have as strong as frames as we need, hey, I might only get them running twice a week, but we look at quality miles. So we look at good technique, we look at developing different energy systems, so we look at kind of doing more high intensity stuff but safely, because if you train harder, race day is easier, if that makes sense. And you can create a lot of strength through doing track work, interval work, but then it comes down to strength and conditioning, people, mobility.
Thank you. Runners are scared of it.
No, it's you know, and there's a couple of things to think about here. Is biggest breakdown, I think, and forgive me guys, I don't do much running stuff anymore, so don't quote me on too much, but one of the biggest breakdowns that happen after, I think it's like 10K, is basically ligaments and so forth. So we need to strengthen the body, we need to strengthen the system, we need to get that trunk stability, we need to think about our upper body, we need to get those glutes of ours activated, hamstrings, and that is, the further we go, then the less breakdowns occur. Because you got to think about that, you're running, you're getting tired, and what happens? The system starts to break down. As the system starts to break down, our movement gets sloppy. How can we stop that breakdown? Well, we can get stronger in the gym. We don't even have to go to the gym. It can be basic body weight, core work, squats, lunges, push-ups. Get a good program 2 to 3 times a week. You could bring that program, a basic body weight program, into your cool down or your warm-ups. Again, it doesn't have to take up much time, and just less mileage. So I think that's the first thing. That was a lot of things in there.
That was good. That was full jump act.
The big step back is listening to your body, listening to when you're tired and that you're exhausted, and listening to your injuries, and not getting suckered into cultural expectations of speed, distance. You've got to train 5 times a week, because what happens is, you know that you're tired, you know that you're injured, you know you need to rest, but then you're on social media and you're seeing everyone else running, you're seeing everyone else hitting numbers and targets and PBs, and that is putting some pressure on you to get out the door when actually the thing that you should be doing is looking after yourself. So I think that's
I 100% agree. Great, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Looking forward to the rest of the training. Okay, so that was a really interesting session, not just because of the training, and yeah, I do feel a little bit unfit, but also because of the conversation that we had afterwards, which is about being open to talking about the struggles of training for a marathon or just training in general. Hi, doggo. Hi. Hello, how are you going? So, accidental dog bomb. So basically, I always talk about, you know, the positives of training, how good it feels, how much I'm improving, like all of this kind of stuff, and rarely actually talk about either physical or mental struggles of it, other than my injury, of course. I don't often talk about expectations of people on social media and the fact that obviously being a relatively public figure, that probably some people have various expectations of me, and then I probably internalize those a little bit. I'm sorry, this dog is just so cute. But yeah, like after my marathon I had quite a lot of messages, a few, not a lot, like 3 or 4 messages of people being like, you know, we thought you were fast, why were you so slow, all this kind of stuff. And it's hard, I guess, when you're used to people liking you, to then accept that just because someone has an opinion of you, it doesn't mean that that opinion is right, if that makes sense. So like, training is not always easy, not just physically but also mentally. It's not always going to be easy to go out for a run. It's not always going to be the run that you were hoping for, the run that you expected, and same goes for races, same goes for literally anything in life. So what I'm trying to say is I want to talk a little bit more about it on social media, because I don't think it's that helpful for me to just say, you know, I love training, training is easy, training is good, and you know, it's always something that I really enjoy, and it's always something that I'm good at, because it's definitely not. I'm not an expert. I am still relatively new to the whole running thing, so I'm still learning. It's like a very, very steep learning curve, even like 2 years in, or a year and a half into, sorry, it's really cold, a year and a half into real training and all that kind of stuff. It's a very steep learning curve, so I hope to share both the positives and the negatives with you, especially as we start marathon training again. It's nerve-wracking. I'm very nervous about the whole thing, but I'm also excited, because there's nothing like pushing yourself for finding out what you're actually like as a human being and what you're capable of as well, because you can just live within comfort zones and everything's easy. And as soon as you start pushing yourself out, if you're not used to it, it's really difficult. But marathon training is a good analogy for real life, in that it's not always easy, but pushing yourself makes you better. Anyway, that's all I got to say on that. That was so random, I'm sorry. I am absolutely starving, having just scooted most of the way back from training. So I'm gonna make myself one of my favorite snacks, which is sourdough bread, olive oil, tomato paste, any other veg-y kind of things that I have, and vegan cheese. And I toast the bread, and then I just like stick it in the microwave at the end, just so all the cheese melts, and it is delish. Okay, so I think that's it for this vlog. I get my marathon training plan this week, which I am extremely nervous about, but my main feeling is excitement, but I'm also nervous because of my history of injuries, that when I up my training that something's gonna go horribly wrong. But I'm really excited to get back into a bit of a routine with training. I've had a kind of rough idea of what I'm looking to do every week, but nothing set in stone, and of course everything is variable and everything should be able to change each week, but I'm excited to have something that will progress me beyond the point that I'm at the moment, and I'm excited to share it with you guys as well. I'm not going to share my exact training plan because I think as Chevy was saying, like, we're all so individual, and what is right for me might not be right for you, and because I have a different life to you guys, and I have the privilege as well of being able to run in the middle of the day, for example, and not sit at a desk all day, so I might not need as much like warming up and all that kind of stuff, although Chevy says that I do. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this vlog. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything I've said over the course of the vlog. Please do go and find me on Instagram as well. I'm at Food Fitness Flora. Hit the follow button if you like what I do. If you don't like what I do, please don't harass me and tell me that my marathon time is too slow. That would be lovely, thank you. And I will see you next time. Bye.